I think everyone is aware of the recent sexual assaults and attempted sexual assault we had starting on Thanksgiving Day, where we had 2 sexual assaults and 1 attempted sexual assault happen within an 8-day period, the third being last Friday on November 30th. I want everybody to understand that we wouldn't be where we are today had it not been for the crucial first responders who arrive and take the reports they did and the time they took to preserve the crime scenes, our crime scene investigators for collecting the evidence. There's so many ifs that can swing these cases one way or the other. If they had missed some crucial evidence, had they not collected it. Then you throw in the fact that our partners at the CBI, again on a Friday, made this a priority case, spent Friday and all weekend analyzing and testing some of this evidence. With all the evidence that was recovered, there were 2 pieces that were a little more important to us at first, and we were disappointed Friday when we were informed that one of the 2 items came back inconclusive or unable to identify the suspect. So that left one real crucial piece of evidence left to be tested that we waited all weekend for. Finally got word late last night on Monday evening that they had identified a suspect from a DNA sample that was submitted to CBI. And fortunately for us, we were able to identify that suspect. And that's because the person ultimately arrested, Cameron Washington, was on parole at the time and his DNA was on file. Well, this is one of those where if he wasn't on parole and we didn't have his DNA, all we would have had is DNA with an unnamed suspect. So it was amazing that it came together this quick. Like I said, I think it was after 5 o'clock last night when we were notified that they had a match. At that time, our gang unit works a swing shift. They were on duty. Our fugitive team had gone home for the day. They were quickly called out. We also reached out to our partners with Colorado Department of Corrections parole officers to assist. And within a matter of hours, Mr. Washington was in jail. There's a few things I can't talk about. Obviously, the investigation's continuing. We're still trying to piece together the entire the case on all 3 cases against Mr. Washington. I'll be happy to answer any questions I can.
Do you know what his priors were for the felony that he was on parole for?
I believe he was on parole for burglary. It's my understanding, and I know at least in Aurora, that a lengthy criminal history, but somewhat minor, mostly property crimes. Nothing to indicate to escalate it to the level of a sexual predator.
Can you talk about the apprehension and how that all came down?
Apparently our guys started, once we got the name, we started doing our research on him. We didn't have an accurate address originally. With one phone call, and I can't really say exactly how, but within one phone call we came up with an address. Officers arrived, and when the first officer arrived on scene, he actually saw Mr. Washington standing outside smoking a cigarette. Once we lay eyes on him, we locked down the house, and he's ours. And it, there was nothing to the arrest, really. He surrendered.
You guys have released a photo because you want other people out there to see if they recognize him from being involved in anything else.
We're not ruling that out, Lance. You know, certainly we want to make sure there's no other victims who may not have come forward. In this case, you know, I think you guys are aware that we really didn't have, the victims weren't able to identify him and give us a good description of this individual. They're woken out of a dead sleep in the dark. They didn't have a good description. But we are releasing this picture for that exact reason. And
A couple of weeks ago, Denver DA's office had a case that they were similar things, serial rapist. They were able to close that because of DNA. Something that just a couple of years ago wouldn't have been possible for law enforcement. Now you guys are able to close this case the same way. I mean, how big the change in the law, Kelly's law? You know, what is that? What kind of tool is that really put in the hands of law enforcement?
DNA is huge in this case and numerous other cases. I think it goes without saying that if we didn't have his DNA on file, he'd still be running around the streets, probably doing the same thing again. Fortunately, his DNA was on file, and again, within a matter of a couple hours, wrapped this case up. Otherwise, we have an unnamed suspect.
Frank, it almost, this, we cover cases where DNA is found maybe years later. It almost seems unprecedented to me to have a case go this quick with DNA. A lot of things happen with CBI behind the scenes to make this possible, but this to me seems unprecedented. Am I wrong?
No, in fact, I was thinking today, I know you guys have been doing this a while, I've been doing this a while. I can't think of the last time that something happened this quick. I mean, what was it, 13, not even 2 weeks, so 12 days maybe? From the time he commits his first one, then a second, unfortunately a third. And again, luckily we recovered some of those items. The first one was not of any value, which was disappointing. And fortunately, this second piece that was analyzed over the weekend and Monday was of huge value, and they were able to name him as a suspect. We joke around and we say things don't happen in an hour like on TV. This is pretty damn close. And, I can't remember a time that it happened this quickly to get a monster like this off the street.
And that means so much to the community, that part of which is kind of gripped in fear when you have somebody that's targeting victim after victim after victim. So your thoughts about being able to get them off the streets as fast as you did?
Well, I think in you guys talking to some of the people in the complex, you saw that fear. Obviously so. And, I also want to stress that we had full cooperation from this apartment complex, both of them, in helping us with this. And to educate the public that this type of individual is running around at the same time warning them, and yeah, there was great fear. Hopefully, there's great relief knowing that he is off the street.
What was his connection to those apartments? He was arrested.
We don't know, Brandon. That's, there's a lot we don't know. We're still trying to figure out some of those, or ask some of those questions. We may not ever know.
Did he work in the area or anything like that?
Not that I'm aware of. I think initially everyone's thinking, well, he's got to live near here. He's got to live in the area, if not in the complex. That, I think, is rare, too, that you have three. When you guys probably looked on an overhead map at how close those two complexes are, it's amazing when you know the actual addresses of how close they really were. We may not ever know. I think it's on the booking sheet. He was arrested at an address off of East 58th Ave in Montbello or Green Valley Ranch, so quite a ways away. So we don't know, Brandon, right now, and that's what we're going to try to find out, but we may never know.
Any idea how he was targeting victims?
That we don't know either, Lance. Again, we were all speculating, how's he picking these? Is he watching these women before? Is he looking through windows before? Is he randomly picking them and getting incredibly lucky to pick 3 residences where it's only women? We also don't know if he might have originally broke in to burglarize the place and then unfortunately took advantage of the opportunity. So we don't have an answer to that as well.
I apologize if you already said this and I didn't hear it, but how did he get in? Was it breaking and entering, or was it an unlocked door? Was it a window?
In at least 2 of them, they were locked doors and windows that he was able to manipulate the lock. I don't know exactly how, but they were locked. In one other case, the victim is pretty sure that she not only had the window locked, but a secondary device as well. She's not 100%, but it's possible that that window wasn't locked. But for the most part, it sounds like these were locked windows and doors that he somehow manipulated.
Okay, thank you.
Are you able to describe how the victims reacted to the news?
I honestly don't know. I have no clue. I'm sure our detectives have reached out to them, as well as I'm assuming they've showed a photo lineup to them just in case they might, but I really can't answer that.
We've had cases in Denver, Boulder, and Aurora where a rapist or a couple of rapists can terrorize the community for a year, year and a half at a time. I know in your service, you remember that. Does this open a new page, and I think it's what he was alluding to earlier, does it open a new page in the way, and you guys will probably learn from this one. What did we do right here? How did we compare notes? How did we pull things together that maybe can start taking these monsters, as you said, off the street a little bit sooner?
Well, David, I mean, again, I'll go back to if we didn't have his DNA on file, he'd still be running around out there, and we would have no clue who this is. Absolutely no clue. Because of the laws requiring them to submit DNA, I mean, speaks volumes. We couldn't do our job without that. There's still some loopholes that need to be closed to tighten them a little bit, but it's huge. I mean, I don't know any other way to say it other than if we didn't have his DNA on file, he'd still be out there. I don't know if that answers your question or.
Yeah, yeah.